Today, you'll learn clear, practical definition of mental health wellness so you can spot stress sooner, respond faster, and reduce burnout without adding more to your to-do list. Stay tuned for 5 things that you can start this week. Now, if it helps, follow us at The Advisor and on Apple or Spotify. Subscribe to it, and also go to YouTube at Stacy Chillemi Advisor and drop a 5-star review so more people can find it. Now, my guest today is a very special guest, and I'm very excited to have her on. She is an expert when it comes to mental health, and she's here today. She is a therapist and an educator, and she's helping people turn mental wellness into a teachable daily skill. MJ, it is a pleasure to have you on the show today. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Tell everybody a little about yourself.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you because I think together we'll be able to really help your listeners. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I've done it for almost 40 years and over 50,000 therapy sessions. And
Wow.
around year 8, I had this insight, probably around 1992. Why is it that only therapists have this information? And that led to a summer camp for girls on mental health, which then, through a series of fortunate events, was turned into a curriculum called Inner Challenge on how to cultivate mental wellness. That was in a junior high for 21 years. I've taught it at the University of Notre Dame to the football team and other classes. And now I have it really integrated, both the clinical and the educational, into my podcast, Creating Midlife Calm.
Oh, I love that. Now, you say most people, even professionals, can't clearly define mental wellness. Why is it such a problem?
Well, sometimes we miss the obvious.
Mhm.
Symptoms are big. When we suffer, we look at the symptoms. And
Mhm.
here's a quick story. When I was about 11 years into creating this curriculum with the junior high students, because in those days when I started, there was no social emotional learning. Daniel Goleman hadn't coined the phrase emotional intelligence. So, me and these 150 junior high students and another colleague, Tony Hinkie Wheeler, and I, we were literally making it up as we go. And I went to a workshop with Dr. Dan Siegel, a very renowned neuropsychiatrist, and there was 800 professionals. And he said, "How many of you have a definition for mental wellness?" 3 people raised their hand, and I was not one of them. And I had probably one of the few programs in the country on mental wellness. It had never dawned on me to define what I was doing because
Right.
I think often we start with the problem
Mhm.
instead of looking at where is it we want to end up going. Think about if you're going on
Yeah.
vacation, you would never just not have a destination. You would just drive around in circles.
Yes.
So I just think it's a glitch in how we think as people. We rush to the problem instead of really pausing and saying, where do I want to end up? And
Yeah.
that's hopefully what this message will help your listeners is to get a clear idea on how to cultivate mental wellness.
I love that. Now, what's the cost of not defining it at work or at home and for burnout?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think the cost is that you're always trying to get rid of something instead
Mhm.
of build something.
Yeah.
That when I give workshops, and I've given over 1,000, I ask the question if I teach a class, what is mental illness? And it
Right.
is so amazing how educated people are in 2025. When I would
Yeah.
ask that in the year 2000, the room was embarrassed, quiet, and really didn't have much information. But now we're very educated. But when I follow it up with the question, what's mental wellness?
Yeah.
Crickets. So the cost is we don't know what to do to be mentally well, but we do know what mental illness is. And that's important. It is important to be able to identify that something is not well with us. But
Yes.
if we have a broken arm, we know what we want it to look like when it's repaired. And
Yes.
that's what I think about mental health.
That's a great analogy. Now, before we fix anything, what are the top misconceptions that you hear about when it comes to mental wellness?
It would be, I don't want to be anxious. I don't
Mhm.
want to be depressed.
Mhm.
It's what people don't want instead of what people do want.
Yes. That's a great answer because I think a lot of people think about what they don't want instead of what they do want.
Yeah. Yeah, to
Definitely.
make it practical, I don't want to be anxious. The destination then is I do want to be calm.
Yeah.
We don't become calm by getting by just saying I don't want to be anxious,
Right.
because creating calm is a very clear set of steps.
Yes.
And it isn't just taking away anxiety, because I don't really know how to take away anxiety, but I do
Right.
know how to create calm.
I love that. I love that. Now, for someone listening who feels maxed out, what are your first 24-hour step before we get fancy?
Go to sleep. One of the foundational blocks of mental wellness is sleep.
Yeah.
When I started as a clinician in 86, my assessment never included sleep. It never included nutrition. It never included exercise. Obviously, it did not include tech management or
Hmm.
stress coping skills. From 1985 to 1991, I only diagnosed 6 clients, and I was working full time
Yes.
in trauma with anxiety. And so, nests is what I call my self care. And that's what it is, those 5 things.
Right.
And the first thing I do when I meet a new client, like I did a couple hours ago, was look
Mhm.
at their sleep. And the beauty of living today is most people have a tracker. So she
Yeah.
looked at her tracker and she's like, oh, I got a lot last night, 6 hours and 2 minutes. And she's 20. She really needs more like 8 or 9 hours.
Right.
So
Wow.
I know. And so then people follow up with, well, my life is so busy, I can't sleep. So then we look at their phone. The average
Yeah.
American, 5 to 7 hours. And so they're doing it before bed. So
Right.
it's a much easier fix than repairing your broken arm. You can do it at home and it doesn't cost anything.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, you use a simple visual to teach mental wellness. Describe it for the listeners so we can see it in our heads.
Okay. I actually use 2 definitions. Would you be okay if I started with the 40,000 foot
Yeah,
definition? Because when
100%.
I went to Dr. Siegel's conference and he asked us who had definitions, and 3 people raised their hands, I was really embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm teaching this. I don't even have a definition. So I began to research and I chose 2. One is the World Health Organization's definition. That's like
Yeah.
the 40,000 foot. And it just says mental wellness is a state of well being where you can realize your abilities, you can deal with the normal stresses of life, you
Hmm.
can work productively and fruitfully,
Yeah.
and you're able to make a contribution to your family, your workplace, your community.
Right.
So, as a coach, as a therapist, when people call, they're usually saying to us one of
Hmm.
those 5 things. I'm just not able to have the energy for work that I used to. I
Yeah.
notice that my focus is really foggy.
Hmm.
My child, who is always a good student, their grades are dropping. So that's the
Yeah.
40,000 foot where most people start.
Right.
But the boots on the ground, what the heck do we do
Yeah.
when any of those things interrupt our functioning? Is
Right.
really to understand what mental wellness looks like. And
Yeah.
this is Siegel's image that I've adapted. So he says, and nobody believes this, but it is actually the truth, that the natural state of our mind is calm, peaceful, and alert, kind of like a river on a
Mm.
calm day. And there's a bank on each side of the river. Because of course we're, going through our life and it's calm, and whammo, something from the outside disrupts our inside. And
Yeah.
we can be thrown on one bank, which is rigidity. And
Hmm.
that's when our reaction to whatever happened is imposing control.
Right.
Or something can happen, whammo, that throws us on the other bank,
Yeah.
chaos, which is when we feel out of control.
Right.
So then the question becomes, wait, how do I get from the bank back into the river.
Yes.
And the first thing is you have to do this very obvious thing, and that is notice what's going on in your mind.
Right.
Like we walk around with our mind all day, but we
Yeah.
often don't really notice it.
Yeah.
So the foundation after sleep of being able to notice your mind is just
Hmm.
turning your attention inward.
Yeah.
And when your mind goes on either bank, or it can go back and forth and, zing, zing, given whatever has happened on the outside.
Yeah.
He gives us 5 words. That's the 5 tools. Faces: flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable. I don't know what it is about that particular acronym, but I tried a lot of models, and I deeply believe that mental wellness is a junior high skill.
Yes.
That if you've been old enough to be in junior high, you're old enough to cultivate mental wellness. And
Hmm.
those students, I taught that acronym to them once and they never forgot it, which kind of blew my mind. And
Yeah.
so, if you want, throw me out a problem so we could walk your listeners how to use this in a really practical way. What would be like a typical problem that you think would be helpful for your listeners to see this imposed on?
I think a lot of people struggle with anxiety and they struggle with sleep and they don't know, the two are interrelated. And a lot of people have a hard time with being able, then they get burnt out. So those three things are like intertwined. People don't realize it. But the biggest problem I have is people are telling me, I struggle with anxiety. Can you help me with anxiety? I struggle with, not being able to get a good night's sleep. But like you said, we're all, a good majority of our society is addicted to the phone. We're on the phone 5 to 7 hours easily, if not more. And
Yeah.
then you have people who are, all these things are cycling and over and over and over again, and they get burnt out and they can't focus and they can't get clarity. And all these symptoms start to become worse and worse and worse to the point where they don't know why it's happening. They don't know how to control it. They don't know how to get better. And then it just keeps progressing because the same behavior and the same routine has not been broken. Those bad habits are consistent.
Okay, so let's just take the issue of sleep, which I have literally helped 10,000 people with, because you can't be a therapist or a coach today and
Yeah.
not almost deal with the sleep issue. So
Yeah.
I had a client who, engineer, very, very competent man, and
Hmm.
he could not get himself to bed. He had had a divorce that broke his heart,
Hmm.
and the thought of going to bed just made him sad.
Yeah.
So he sat on the couch and just did his phone till just sheer exhaustion. And so what I did using this model
Hmm.
was I said, let's reverse engineer.
Hmm.
Okay. What time would you like to go to bed? He'd like to go to bed at 10:30. He was going to bed about 1 or 1:30, getting up at 5 or 5:30.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you doing? He's like, well, I'm sitting on the couch. I had no idea that what he was doing was avoiding sadness, right?
Mhm.
He didn't know it either. He just thought, I need time to myself. I'm relaxing. It's the phone. And
Yeah.
so when I said to him, okay, when you're on the couch and you're scrolling, where's your mind? Is it more out of control, or is it more, do you feel rigid? And he just thought about it and he goes, well, before I get my phone out, I'm feeling really out of control.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, so just sit with that feeling. We're not teacups. We can hold uncomfortable feeling. Sit
Yep.
with that feeling that you last had and just see what surfaces.
Hmm.
And what surfaced was ego sadness. I'm so sad that I'm not living with my wife and kids.
Yeah.
And I feel out of control. It's not what I ever wanted or imagined in my life. And then I said, okay, see, flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable.
Hmm.
He started, as most of us do, with coherence.
Yeah.
Now, what didn't seem to make sense made sense to him.
Right.
It's not that I don't have willpower. It's not really that I'm out of control. it's that I don't know how to manage the sadness that I feel because I'm so busy all day long.
Right.
I don't know how to manage the sadness, so I avoid it.
Yeah.
And that gave him an inroad. I don't believe without this template, he would have
Yeah.
ever had it. He was
Right.
just judging himself for being so incompetent.
Hmm.
Does
Wow.
that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the underlying root cause that really
Yes.
is the problem, and we don't
Yes.
realize until we get to that root cause, which was for him the sadness. And
Yes.
yeah,
And the coherence, it may not, what I have learned, and I think I could say this with everyone I've worked with, it always makes sense.
yeah,
There's always an underlying deeper story that is often avoided due to time or pain.
hmm,
And that when we do that, the coherence
yes,
happens. So
hmm,
then, he began to work on the sadness that
mm,
made him feel so out of control. And it sometimes made him feel so rigid, like
yeah,
I will never have a future.
right,
Right. And now it's unbelievable. 2 years later, he goes to bed at 10:30. He's engaged to be married to a wonderful woman who's a much better fit. And he has incredibly good self-care, something he's never had in his life. And his anxiety, which on a scale of 1 to 10 was so severe that he spent Christmas Eve in the waiting room of our psychiatric hospital because there were no beds during COVID. Right.
Oh wow,
And like he has really worked through that. And it was about being flexible and adaptive. Like he had to have flexibility and adaptiveness to accept that his wife had stepped away from the marriage. It
yeah,
wasn't his choice.
right,
And so he could be rigid and angry, or he could be scrolling on his phone and out of control, or
yes,
he could do the work of grief and really become more flexible and adaptive. And I think they
right,
have one of the best co parenting situations I've ever seen. And I really
wow,
think that this was a man who did not come in ever thinking he would be in therapy. He was not naturally reflective. He was an engineer. He's kind, but had really just been pretty dominated in his
yeah,
marriage. He didn't have much of a voice. And so
right,
I think his former wife is wonderful. There's no fault on her. They
yeah,
married very young and they just didn't grow up in a way that allowed this relationship to continue. But
right,
his anxiety was paralyzing.
wow, that's powerful.
It
That's powerful.
is. It's really, I have enormous respect for him.
That's amazing, and he overcame it. That's
Yes.
wonderful.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. So, but again, it is really having a model. Like he
Yeah,
could see where he at sometimes would be on his phone. He'd get very rigid. He'd be looking at his stock prices, and then he'd like be really chaotic. He got to know his mind. And
yeah,
cultivating mental wellness is befriending, tending and befriending our mind, which most of us only notice when it's causing us pain and suffering.
yeah. That's true. That's so true. Now, you also teach five defining sentences. Can you share them and explain what each one unlocks?
Yes, that's really the faces. So F is let's look at the situation that is causing one to be out of the river onto the bank and ask yourself, if I am more flexible, will this bring me back into the river of more calm, more peace, and more alertness? Right.
Uh,
And what does that flexibility look like?
right.
So I often tell this story of when we were coming out of the pandemic. I
Hmm.
went to Starbucks and it was like 20 people in there waiting. It was a zoo. And a woman came in who had placed her order mobily and it wasn't ready. And she began to yell at the barista.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
really apparent to me that my quick coffee stop was not going to be quick.
Yeah.
And I could be like her and let my mind go on the bank of chaos and
Yeah.
try to impose control. She was like, I demand this right now. Or I could ground my feet,
Yeah.
re-regulate my central nervous system. You
Mm-hmm.
can check out, I think it's episode 91. I have these two super simple mindfulness exercises. Notice on the outside, grounded my feet, looked at something, took some breaths. So I got mental clarity and my choice. I
Mm.
can eat the $5 for the coffee and get to work on time, or I can sit outside and do my emails here and wait for
Yeah.
my coffee. That's being flexible and adaptive. And
Right.
it's also being coherent.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that causes a lot of disruption in our mental state is our belief that the world should operate to serve
Mm.
us.
Yeah.
There were 20 people in that coffee shop. The woman who walked in and threw a fit was acting like she was their only customer.
Right.
And if we can begin to loosen up on this idea that the
Mm-hmm.
world should behave in such a way that we have calmness, that we feel peaceful, that we're alert, instead of, no, no, it's the opposite. Life
Yeah.
is truly like a video game,
Right.
throwing things at us that are challenges.
Yeah.
And if we accept the challenge and learn how to regulate ourselves,
Yeah.
first through this template, this idea, second through having really good emotional regulation skills,
Mm-hmm.
then what ends up happening is throw it at me, world.
Yeah.
I can manage it.
Mm-hmm.
I can manage it. And so flexible and adaptive, coherent, I've talked to. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens when you do those three skills and those
Right.
three perspectives is you will become more energized and more stable.
I love that. How does this model help in real life? Like, let's say a tense meeting or a family conflict.
Wow. Let's go with the family conflict I don't know when this is going to air, but
Yeah.
holidays are coming, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Holidays are coming.
That's hard.
If you want mental wellness, then it's helpful to one, believe that you can keep your mind peaceful no matter what.
Right.
And that what really helps do that are these two things. One is having a sense of humor
Mm-hmm.
that, oh, people don't behave, so I'm happy. People aren't
Mm-hmm.
going to behave, so my life is convenient and peaceful.
Yes.
Everybody's kind of wanting things to go their way.
Right.
So if you look at it through that lens of, oh, yeah, that person isn't doing things to make me unhappy. That
Right.
person is doing things the way that they want.
Right.
So a number of years ago, I had a woman who was thinking of cutting off from her mother-in-law because her
Mm-hmm.
mother-in-law wouldn't let her bring a pie to Thanksgiving. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's a free country,
Yeah.
but you could actually just bring the pie as a hostess gift.
Right.
Why are you asking?
Mm-hmm.
Or you could say, my mother-in-law, she's really controlling. Instead of baking a pie, I'll go get a manicure.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to take care of myself?
Right.
And so the first skill of being able to handle is understanding that everybody's different than me
Yeah.
and they don't have to do it the way I think it should be done.
Right.
And the second skill is having enough connection with your body and your mind that you can observe when your central nervous system begins to go offline, begins
Yeah.
to feel anxious, begins to feel angry. And that really starts with basic body knowledge. Doesn't have, nobody needs to, have a PhD in physiology.
Yeah.
It's just, do you lean towards anger so you get defensive? Do you
Mm-hmm.
lean towards, depression so you get sad?
Yeah.
Whatever's your kind of leaning, understanding it and knowing what your body reaction is and
Yeah.
committing to not stepping in and escalating, but
Right.
calming yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
The beautiful thing about this is many people have done this with infants,
Yeah.
right? When an infant gets dysregulated, very seldom does an adult start yelling at them to get their shit
Exactly.
together, right? We pick them up and we actually calm them through co-regulation.
Yes.
All we have to do is apply that skill to ourselves.
Yes.
People do this with puppies, people do this. So all people really have to do, and these mindfulness exercises, people can listen to my podcast, 10 minutes, episode 91. They're
Hmm.
just ground your feet, take some breaths with an inner commitment. I'm going to stay calm.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients have learned the secret trick. Go to the bathroom and re-regulate.
Hmm.
Go to the bathroom and re-regulate. So
Yes.
you can see it starting to fray. I was actually at a dinner on Sunday night, which was kind of sending me over the edge.
Yeah.
And I was kind of re-regulating. And then I thought, I just need a timeout. Got up, went to the bathroom, came back in a few minutes, new me.
Hmm.
So you have to have the commitment that you want your mind to be more in its natural state of peaceful,
Yeah.
calm, and alert, even though
That's,
you don't believe it.
yeah.
People don't, people think anxiety is our mind's natural state.
Right.
But the problem is, if that is our mind's natural state, then we have to set the world up so we're not anxious.
Yeah.
And I've done this with thousands of people. So I really know. And again,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to get people to Buddhist monks. I've worked with Buddhist monks. Like, I know that's not possible. They've grown up in a
Yeah.
completely different culture.
Right.
I'm trying to get people where their day doesn't feel exhausting because they don't know how to calm their central nervous system, which is what makes us anxious when it's ramped up.
I love that. I love that analogy where, if people are anxious and then they have to create a world around them that's not
Yes.
anxious. I like that a lot.
I call it trying to set up the chessboard so you can always win.
Right. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, what changes when a team uses the same definition, communication, accountability, recovery?
Well, a team is a family, a team is a group at work, a
Hmm.
team are, spouses and partners.
Yeah.
Actually, a team is when people drive on the same road,
Yeah.
right? And I think driving is some of our best metaphors because
Hmm.
if we think about how much of us are teammates with each other when we're driving and how
Yeah.
well, for the most part, that goes, it
Hmm.
really can inspire us in our
Yeah.
relationships. But what has to happen first, and I am dealing with this all the time now
Hmm.
because of social media, because of the political divide, is we have to decide to be relational versus right.
Right.
If in working with each other, we want to be right, and that's
Mhm.
our value, then we're probably not going to be communicating well, working together well. We're going to be at odds.
Yeah.
But when we decide, let's be relational,
Hmm.
this model just happens. I
Yeah.
have done this model I have a coaching practice and I have a lot
Hmm.
of CEOs and directors in it. And what they
Yes.
typically bring are those situations in the workplace
Hmm.
where they or one of their higher ups have gone off the banks. And
Yeah.
one of the things they've said is, as they coach the people who are working for them,
Yeah.
they're often using coherence first, just with this line: help me understand why you did that.
Yeah.
That is a really different way to communicate than what the hell did you do that for?
Exactly.
What the hell did you do that for makes all of us defensive. It
Hmm.
doesn't make us curious. We
Right.
feel judged. But when someone's boss says, or when someone's parent says, hey, help me understand why you did that,
Hmm.
there's connection. And we're
Yeah.
trying to get coherence because I will just tell you, I have yet to have a client who did something that seemed a little like, what was that about? That
Yeah.
when we really explored it in a super safe way, oh, that made sense.
Yeah. I love that. I love that a lot. Now, how quickly do people start noticing fewer spirals and faster resets?
I think really quickly, and trust me, I work with a lot of people who suffer. So
Yeah.
I'm not Pollyanna ish about this. You
Hmm.
know, my first 7 years as a therapist was in-home therapy with people who had a triple diagnosis in the inner city of Chicago.
Wow.
And I didn't have these skills then. I should send all my lovely clients from back then, you know, apology cards. But what I've learned is that most people don't even notice their mind.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like driving behind the wheel of your car, but not paying attention to the road. And
Right.
just that simple shift of notice your mind, not
Hmm.
just when it's anxious,
Yeah.
but just sit. You know, we talked earlier about that great episode with Phyllis Collada. Is that her last name? Collada? Collada. Yeah.
Coletta,
On
yeah.
like, I hope everyone listens to it because it's about this book about meditation. It's like training a puppy. And if you just take 10 minutes and watch your mind, I do this with every client. I want them to get to know what I call the infrastructure of their mind, the architecture of their mind. How does your mind work? Someone who has ADHD, their mind will be very busy. It'll go from one thought to another to another. Somebody who's kind of depressed, their mind will kind of sink. Someone who maybe has a high amount of energy, their mind gets busy and ramps up.
Yep.
It's just important that we know how our mind works and that we can notice our mind, not when it's, just running away with us, but just
Yeah.
what's our kind of common way. And
Right.
so that is a really helpful thing for people to do. And
Yeah.
once people start to notice their mind, then they can go to the next place where they just do these two simple mindfulness exercises. I call notice on the outside,
Yeah.
notice on the inside. And notice
Hmm.
on the outside is when your mind runs amok,
Yeah.
where it's going where it wants, not where you want. Ground your feet, choose something to look at, like your coffee cup,
Yeah.
and just take breaths for 30 to 60 seconds.
Right.
That mindfulness exercise is so simple and so powerful that at one point, an eighth grade teacher called and said, "Hey, the students want to do something called notice on the outside before their standardized tests.
Yeah.
Can you teach it to me?" And I don't know if you know junior high students, but if it's not good, they're not asking to use it.
Yeah.
And one of the years that I taught it to the Notre Dame football team, they were using it in the huddle. Like, I'm not saying
Wow.
they're using it today, but I'm saying that this group did. And I was like,
Yeah.
don't you have something besides 36, 24, hut? You know, that does it too. But they were doing it at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's free. So I encourage people to begin to tend their mind and train their brain. You tend your mind. The mind and the brain are separate but connected.
Yeah.
When I say brain, everybody knows what that looks like, right?
Right.
It's this soft, fleshy gray organ. What's your mind look like?
Right.
Can you answer that? What's your mind look like?
It's a bunch of matter. It's a mushy, piece of matter that is an amazing part of your body that controls pretty much everything.
So that's one way of looking at it. That's actually how I define the brain.
Hmm.
But the mind cannot be seen.
No.
The mind is our subjective experience
Yes.
and it's unseen.
Yes.
But once we realize that and we begin to pay attention to our mind, which is our subjective experience. So I had years ago, I'm going for a walk with one of my friends. I see a German Shepherd and my heart just melts because my grandparents had German Shepherds. She sees it. She gets anxious and fearful. She's like, we can't go by there. When she was 7, she was bit.
Ah,
Who's right?
right.
That's a powerful definition of mind. Her
Hmm.
subjective experience, same brain. We both have very similar organs, but
Yeah.
our subjective experience, our mind. So,
Hmm.
one of the things that's so helpful in cultivating mental wellness, one of the things that's absolutely necessary to get people's anxiety to a helpful place
Yeah.
is to tend to your mind. And you begin that with simple mindfulness exercises to just
Yes.
ground your feet so you can begin to think, oh, I can put my mind where I want it to go.
Yes. I
So,
love.
I can send you those links. It's, episode 91, and
Yeah.
it's 10 minutes. My podcast is 10 minutes because people are busy.
I was wondering, with boundaries without guilt, what are one sentence listeners can use this week?
Boundaries without guilt.
Mm-hmm.
I think boundaries are just our body and our mind giving us information
Yeah.
that we need to set some limits.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they will come with guilt, but I don't think we're teacups.
Yeah.
Like, if the goal is to set boundaries and never feel guilty,
Mm-hmm.
we won't set them, because sometimes no's are really hard.
Yeah.
We are saying no to people we really care about. We're
Mm-hmm.
saying no to people who have endless needs. I have this every week, that my wait list is full. Friends of mine, professors, people I've worked with. Could you see my daughter? Could you see this person? And
Yes.
every time I say no, I feel guilty. And I just emotionally regulate.
Yeah.
I always want to say yes. And I've created a process where I never say yes on the spot,
Mm-hmm.
because then I get overcommitted and then I'm a bitch. So it's that simple for me. Other people get overcommitted and they ask everyone they work with, they live with, the, pick up the slack. But I
Yeah.
get angry. And so I just feel the guilt. And
Mm-hmm.
our emotions last for about 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So much of cultivating mental wellness is slowing down and pausing, and
Mm-hmm.
not trusting our initial reaction, which usually isn't that healthy,
Yeah.
but just sitting with whatever we feel. So I
Yeah.
actually had a client an hour ago who had to say no to her roommates
Right.
and then obsessed about it. And I just had her sit with the no.
Yeah.
And she had to do a couple rounds. And then she's like, well, I do have to do what I have to do.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
don't see the guilt as, that's just human. You care, you like to be helpful, whatever your own story is. But that doesn't mean you can't hold the discomfort
Yeah.
and move through it and do what you know is the right thing.
Exactly. And how does a leader go first, modeling wellness without looking so soft?
Oh boy, that is a great question, because humans evolve, right?
Yeah.
And we can see where we evolved into a leadership maybe 15 years ago that was pretty integrated, right?
Yeah.
And it scared the shit out of everybody, in my humble opinion. And
Yeah.
now we have leadership that is strong and powerful, yet not super effective.
Right.
So when we think about power, there's power over, there's power with, and there's power under.
Yes.
So the best leadership is power with.
Mm-hmm.
And that really starts with ourself.
Yes.
And that really does start with this model of knowing one's mind,
Mm-hmm.
knowing one's body,
Yes.
knowing one's values,
Yeah.
and doing the work necessary. I mean, in today's world, people have to do a little inner work to have
Yes.
mental wellness, because everything is set up to keep our attention here.
Yes.
I don't know how many people understand that we've gone from an agrarian economy to a manufacturing economy to a consumer economy to an attention economy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty well known for saying I don't think we have a mental health crisis. I
Yeah.
think we have a lifestyle crisis.
Yeah.
And at the
Makes
center
sense.
of that is that our economy is asking for our attention 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And we're being led to porn addictions, to spending addictions, to gambling addictions, to scrolling instead of sleeping, actually
Yeah.
to scrolling instead of parenting, to scrolling in high school instead of paying attention.
Right.
And so, great leadership understands that
Mm-hmm.
power with oneself and oneself being healthy, and then moving that into the workplace. I've worked with a number of workplaces on how to implement phone policies so it feels like power with, and
Yeah.
it's made a humongous difference. There's no reason for anyone to think like, oh, we know what we're doing here on the phone. No, this is all new. This is all new. And
Yes.
I've had companies where, they have the policy and people are just checking their phones every 10 minutes and it's killing productivity.
Right.
And they're valuable people, but they're not meeting output,
Yeah.
and they have to really work with them on that. But to do it like power over doesn't seem to work because we're
Right.
super individualized now. And we're like,
Yeah.
I'm the exception. So we're not as relational. So that's kind of a off the answer kind of didn't thread real clear. I hope it's clear, but
It's clear to me. Yes.
okay.
Now, MJ, listeners were promised 5 concrete actions. What are 5 things they can do this week to define wellness and cut out burnout?
I think one thing I would like them to do, in all honesty, is to go to the show notes of this, and I will give my one pager that really is in one page, a nice, colorful visual of this. I feel that we're people who learn through images. So
Yeah.
that would be the first thing. The second thing is to have fun with this. This
Yeah.
it is interesting. We are fascinating people. And instead of focusing on, I'm so anxious, how do I get rid of my anxiety?
Yeah.
You could focus on, oh, I'm just going to try to increase a little calm and focus in my life. So when I
Yeah.
fill up my coffee, I'm going to ground my feet and I'm just going to watch the stream go into the cup. When
Right.
I'm at the stoplight, I'm going to put my hands on the steering wheel, feel my butt in the seat, and I'm just going to take some breaths and calm my nervous system instead of, checking my phone, calling a friend. You know, the third I would say is to do what I call create a glimmer list. A
Hmm.
glimmer list is in your phone, 5 things that lift your spirit. Mental wellness is about our spirit. So,
Yeah.
one of the things I diagnosed with my clients is tell me about your spirit. What
Hmm.
most people tell me, in all honesty, is their use of spirits,
Yeah.
how much they use pot, how much they drink. That's what they think. No, no, no. Okay, that's helpful. That's my next question. But what lifts your spirit?
Right.
And I give people 2 minutes and they're like, just did it this morning with someone. He said, walk my dog, play chess with my youngest son,
Yeah.
watch this particular movie, read this particular book, listen to this music. We have to have inputs that lift our spirit. I have to
Yeah.
read every day. If I go 2 days and don't read, I am really grumpy.
Yeah.
And so that would be my fourth thing. And my fifth thing is understand that this is a process.
Hmm.
That if you want to be more healthy, if you want to cultivate mental wellness, it's
Yeah.
not a 1 week thing. You got lots on your plate. You got to go to the grocery, go to your job, get your car into the shop. So
Yeah.
this is just something that you just kind of say, okay, I'm just going to try to do the notice exercises for a week
Hmm.
or two. Okay, I'm going to not try, I'm going to get to bed a half hour early. I
Yeah.
am going to put my phone outside of my bedroom. That I
Hmm.
really think it's creating an infrastructure so your lifestyle is
Yeah.
healthier. It's not about, not eating any sugar, though if people want to do that, hats off. It's just about doing small things consistently.
Yes. 100%. I think that's great. Those are great, great, great pointers. I really like them a lot. Can you tell people about the services that you provide?
Yes. I mean, I think the one I'm really the most proud of is my podcast because it's free and it's
Mhm.
short. And all I want for people to do is to feel better. So
Yeah.
that's one. I do have, and I'm kind of awed by this, but I have a master class coming out that Michael Joseph McDonald produced and is creating. I just saw the first outtakes of it. It's so fantastic. It's like he's a genius. He's a filmmaker, and our paths just crossed a year ago, and we just sat down and made this, and it's just beautiful. And that will come out probably January 2026, and people can follow my website and my actually my podcast probably to get information. And then I have a consulting practice if people are looking for coaching in this area. That I do a lot of, 3 and 4 sessions where people get the model, they apply it, and they come back.
Oh, I
And
love
people can send me an email at mj@mjmurrayvachon.com.
I love it. Oh, this has been amazing, MJ. I really appreciate you for coming on the show today and sharing all these excellent strategies and tools that people can use to apply to their life to help them when it comes to mental health issues. So many people struggle with so many different things, and really, you stress, meditation and breathing, and these are things that are so powerful. I don't think people even realize how powerful they are. And, you really gave some amazing pointers. I thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge. And I hope you'll be on the show again and we could talk some more. But you're wonderful. And I thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. This was so enjoyable. And I'm so grateful to people like you that are helping get the word out because you're right. People don't know, and it's all free. It's just how our body is meant to work, and it's
Yes,
not complicated. So
exactly.
thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. You have a great day.
Okay, thanks.